Hey, welcome back. A to Z Haircutting, Pearl Foy again. We finished our zero elevation and I went ahead and blow dried it for you. And the one thing about the zero haircut, the one thing that you're going to learn about haircutting is push-pull. Remember I told you always go from side to center, which would be the center back. Let me turn this. Side to center or center to side. You never just go all the way around and keep cutting. And that's because of the push-pull. You'll always have one side longer than the other. What you want though, what ends up happening, however, sometimes when we do the zero or any type of straight line haircutting around the head form, and you end up with one side a little bit longer than the other, let's say that we're doing center, and we're traveling, we're pushing here, aren't we? Pushing, pushing. And then we go on the other side, start pulling, pulling. We're pulling now. Before we were pushing, now we're pulling. What ends up happening, you'll always end up with one side a little bit longer than the other. That's why it's so important to look at your shear. That's why practicing, going up and down with that secondary position with the shear. Using that secondary position, coming down, making sure that your shear is straight. But if for some reason you find that one side will rest a little bit longer than the other, when you're finished, you can hold it down and you'll feel, oh man, I got one a little bit longer. Do not start cutting at the front and going back. You need to come, let me turn this around again, to this corner right here. Pull the hair straight down and look to see, now this is pretty straight, but look to see if there is a corner there. I want you to notice that little bit of a tang right there. Could be a possible corner. Surprisingly enough, that little tang is just on the other side of that. Let me pull that tang out and see exactly where it's at. Right here, and what do you know? It's right there, at that corner. You'll see it when you do your own mannequins. I mean, these are really tiny, but what I want you to take note of, let me pull that tang back up again. There it is. What did I do with my shear? I just had it. Oh, here it is. All right, so I'm going to go in the same direction, all right? I'm going to take that little corner. I know you probably or may not be able to see it, but honestly, take it straight down and look for that just tiny corner. Take it off, and then travel around it, and you're going to find that you've got a little bit more length to remove. And as you travel, do you notice that it becomes a little bit longer? You have a little more hair. Making sure that your fingers are straight, your shear is straight, and by the way, this is called palming your comb. You always place your comb right there on your thumb to kind of hold it so you're not picking up, putting down, picking up, putting down. So I'm just going to travel around here. And we may have been just a scotch longer on this side. Again, still traveling. I'll see how it's growing. Making sure my fingers are straight till I come down to the very end, and now look at how much more it's grown. So that's almost, I'm going to put the comb there, I'm going to put my fingers there, that's almost half an inch. So I'm going to take that off. But you see now, it fits even better, and we're even. Truly, truly even. Those are the things that you check for, but it's always going to be back at this corner. People tend to start here, and they start taking it off, and before you know it, you're a little longer on this side, so then you go and start taking it off on that side. No, go to this corner because the head, you started here, traveled around. Like it or not, we have, that's kind of called a square on the head form, but you're traveling around in another direction. You were in the back, now you're coming forward. But I wanted to show you the zero, all blow dry, just kind of put under like that. And today what we're going to do I'm gonna move this one out of the way. Sorry. And we're gonna do our V back. My understanding, and 99% of the time when people do the V back, they take this part and they comb it down, and then they go like this and start cutting the V, and then they go and then they start cutting the V, and then they check the V to see if it's even, sides are even. No, it's not, so they're going to take it a little more. It's the same theory. Pulling, pushing. I'm pulling and I'm pushing. There's a specific on doing the V haircut, and then you clean it up. You do have to subsection off up at the parietal line and bring that up. A lot of people, if you have really, really long hair, I've seen it, people have hair down to their back, they'll bring it all forward just like a ponytail and then take it off. Well, what ends up happening is you've just taken the hair at the crown where you want it long enough to rest on the bottom, and you've just made it shorter. Because if this hair travels to this area and it's cut, it's going to be shorter than this hair that has traveled to the same area. Do you see the difference? That's the geometry part of it. That's the architecture part of it. So if they're saying they want it all the same length, you want to subsection off the top. That natural hair fall is so important with hair cutting, to know what it's all about. So in order to do your V, you have to start at the flat part of the head. Now here's your variables. What kind of a V do you want? Do you want a sharp V? Do you want a soft V? What kind of a V are you looking for? These are the variables. You're going to take a subsection straight down. You're going to decide, I want my V, because you're going to have layers, by the way. Unless you start from the back, which you can, subsection this off, start from the back, bring it forward. This is your roadmap for a V haircut. This is not a V haircut at this point. It's your roadmap for it, so that you're not recutting and recutting and recutting. The facial shape, the facial features are your point of measure. That's perfect back here. You've got eyebrows, you've got eyes, you've got nose, you've got lips that you can take the hair to, and you've got a definite point of measure. When you do it in this form, there is no point of measure. You can see, well, I got the shoulders. Yeah, look at my shoulders right now. You see my shoulders? They're a little bit off, and I think I'm standing straight. Okay, so it's the same thing. As soon as they move, your line is gone. This particular part of the head form doesn't go away. It's still there. You hold it, you see it, you look at it. All right, so what I'm going to do, we've determined that she wants a V haircut. The factors here, like I said, the variables, how many layers does she want? If she brings it up here, the layers up here are going to be shorter within the flat area of the head, within the frontal, within the apex, they're going to be shorter. If she wants it not so short, you want to bring it straight out. If she wants it long, you want to hold it down. Your chin then is your guide. The more you bring it forward, the most important part of a V haircut is that you're going to cut it vertically. When it goes back, it will V all by itself. Those are the factors into a correct method for doing a V haircut in the back. Now, she doesn't have a lot of long hair. What might end up happening with this mannequin, because the hair really needs to be about, I mean, mid and past the bra strap. We know she's not past the bra strap, not this length. But to get a good V haircut, you almost have to have it that length. Your subsections need to be clean. The hair needs to be wet. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring it down to the jawline or the chin. And then again, we're going to increase the length by bringing it to the center. If I bring it out here and just hold it straight out, the length is going to be shorter. But if I move, you notice my fingers created length right there. All right? So I'm just going to cut vertically. I want to make sure that that is coming down straight. My shears are straight up. I am at that exact location. This hair This line of hair right here is touching the tip of the nose. This line of hair right here is touching or focused along the chin line. I have a point of measure. So very, very important when you're doing a V haircut. So I'm going to bring this forward. And see, so you're not just cutting. You have a space. You have a diagram. And you'll actually start seeing that V coming in. I'm going to take another subsection, bring it forward, hold it exactly the same way. I've got my guide underneath or my line underneath that I can see. If I cannot see my line to cut, I'm bringing it to the exact same spot. My fingers are held exactly the same way, and I'm cutting straight up. So I have my line that I'm following. And you can see that V starting to come in. I'm only going to take it mid-occipital at this point. So in other words, just see where the tragus is. Remember all those terms. The tragus is there. That's mid-occipital. So I'm going to take it mid-occipital, bring it all the way forward, hold it exactly the same way as I did before. I see my line, I cut my line. So that gives me a direction, and you can see that V coming in. Again, mid-occipital, bring that forward until I run out of hair. Okay, again, making sure that everything is exactly where it's supposed to be. I'm at the center now. I'm at the center back, as you can see that. Now, once I get to the center back, I'm going to take it all the way down to the nape. The nape now will come forward and elevate up a bit. Do you see that? The nape itself is traveling up to that line. When hair travels, it does what? Becomes longer. If I bring it down, I'm going to make the nape shorter. I don't want the nape shorter. She wants to have a long V. So again, I'm bringing it up to the front of the face. I've got my line. I'm going to now come all the way down. The nape, forgive me my head, but I want to get all this hair over. So I've got everything back again to the same point, same line. That's there. This is coming up into the chin line. Now, I'm going to comb that, give it a hard line comb. Now, one thing that I want you to notice, remember with the zero elevation, I told you that we'd have a problem with this corner here. The reason for that corner there is because of this. Okay, we've developed our guide. Do you see it? I'm not going to worry about that corner, because now what I'm going to do for my V haircut, and another factor, we've directed the hair forward. We now have this area too. Do you see how this is slightly shorter, and then we have just an ever so scotch of a corner in that area. You'll notice it when you do it on your mannequin. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn it this way for you to see it. See, I've got a corner here and a corner there. That is this right here. This area at the temporal area right there. That's creating that corner. We brought it to one spot. The perimeter line is going to be the thing that's going to create all those little zigzags that you're going to have. So you comb it straight down. Now we can find our V. Do we want our V? Yes. Straight up. Just getting rid of little corners. I'm not losing any length. Okay, I have this corner here for the V haircut. Now, this corner, because I don't want to lose length, I'm taking the shortest point here and to the longest point. I'm not over directing, or it's called over directing. When you push it, I'm not pushing it. See how I'm combing it straight down? Now watch my comb. I have a corner right here. Now I'm shaping my V in. And just gently taking that up. Now on our next haircut is the A-line. I'll have this blow dried so you can see that it actually V's out for you. so you'll have no problems with it. But you can already see that it's coming in like a V right there. Now, we want that. How sharp do you want it? Now, didn't this take a lot less time than trying to figure out, okay, did I get it right? You got it right. All right, I'm going to do the other side for you to see it, and then we're going to do the natural fall of the head. And I'm just going to do it. How do we determine that it's the same length? How are we going to determine that? All right, so I'm going to bring this subsection over, same way, right to this area, correct? There's my guide. I look at that, I place it there. This time these fingers are being faced straight up instead of down, and I'm cutting down because I'm on the other side. Then I want to make sure that we're even. That's even. That's a little bit long right there. Oh, that's hair that hasn't been cut yet, so. All right, so now we have our line. Once we have our line, we just take it back, nose, chin, point of measure, determine how far out you want it, and I'm cutting down, holding it exactly the same way. Not holding it differently, but it's creating that V line. A straight line here is going to create a V in the back because it's all traveling to one focal point. Again, mid-occipital, bring everything over, place it exactly in the same spot, look for my line. There you go. Cutting down. If you don't see your line, do not cut. You're guessing then, and that's when you're going to have a very, very unhappy person. Again, focal point, and I've got my line, so I don't necessarily have to measure anymore. I just have to look at my line. So I'm going to bring all the hair from the mid back over, center occipital area, very little to cut. So do you see how this maintains length? And then when we're going to bring, okay, and we have the same corners, that little corner there, because of this. Do you see that V right there? That V is right there. It's the same thing. It's not different. So I'm going to take it. I'm going to stand on the other side because I have to pull it forward a bit. So I'm going to take it and I'm going to get rid of that little V right there. So now I'm shaping it into it. And this is even. So that little guide right there keeps you from having to keep cutting and cutting and cutting. Come back to the nape. Bring it forward. I'm going to turn her head just a bit. Bring it forward to the exact same spot. Cut down. Center nape. Exact same spot. Cut down. All right, and again, we have our little corner right here. So now I'm going to hold it straight down. I'm going to cut this at an angle because we want a V. Do you see that corner right there? That's this corner. You're going to get those. There's your Y. All right, I'm going to turn it around. That's even. That's even. And if I want a sharper V, now this is all I'm going to work is that center nape and that center occipital, center crown. I don't need to work the rest of it. It's already coming in like a V. So all I need to do now, which makes it so much easier, and I'm going to step over, is now clean up my V. And it's even. So do you see it? There's your V haircut. Now I'm going to drop this down, and if they're all the same length, what's going to happen is this natural fall. If they've got really, really thick hair, subsection off at the apex and clip that up. Now, if you're not sure about these terms or where these places are, look at our introductory tape, because that video identifies every part of the head. So I'm going to bring this down. This haircut does not take a long time. And you see, because of her layers and the natural fall of the hair, I have very, very little to cut off. The only place that I really have to cut is in the front. And I want to do a nice clean center part on her. So I've got my line. Do you see my line? I've got my line that I can cut. I'm just going to follow that same line when I bring it down to the natural fall. I very little measuring that I have to do anymore, because I'm just looking at my V line. And with the V haircut, the thing that you need to discuss is, do you want layers in the front? If they don't want layers in the front, start at the area behind the ear. Do the exact same thing. Just clip this out of the way and bring the rest of the hair forward. But yeah, with the V haircut, your shortest point is going to be right up front. So you can see that line right there. And I'm taking it off, just cleaning up. So don't put so much work into it if you don't have to. I see my line. I'm going to turn this around. Now I want this to be even. So I'm going to pie shape the frontal fringe area to make sure. Okay, it's going to V out. It's actually, let me cut it first, and then I'll show you what I'm talking about. And that's fascinating. So I'm just following my line. There's no reason to pull it up anymore. So if I bring this out, you're going to get almost like a line up front. You see how it's just slightly shorter at the center point there. Let me turn her around so you can see it for sure. But it continues, still going back to V out. So this haircut is not that difficult to do, and it eliminates room for error if you just take it from the back and clean it up. People, when they want the V haircut, they want to be able to see a definite line V. And when I blow dry this, before we do our next cut, you'll be able to see that. The main thing is watch that your lines are straight. Always find out how many layers they want. Like I said, if they don't want layers up front, you start in the area behind the ear. And then you're going to bring that forward. You're only going to blend this. That's going to create minimal layers for the front because you've already taken care of this. And then you could determine what you want from there, or you could determine the length that you want. But the V haircut is not a difficult cut to do. It's a simple cut. It doesn't take that much time. If they have a lot of hair, that's going to be the only problem you're going to have. But remember, remove this hair up on top above the parietal line. Clip it up so that you don't have a problem with it, and then you'll be working underneath it first, and then so when that hair comes down, you're just going to blend. You're just going to blend your line in there. You're not going to have that much to worry about. It's hard to see right now. Our next haircut is the A-line haircut, and I've got some already finished, and I'm going to show you how to do that. That's just exactly the opposite to this. Always make sure that you keep your shears dry. You'll notice that I keep a towel and always wipe the back end of it and turn it and wipe the other back end. That keeps them sharp. That keeps them clean and sanitize them afterwards, especially if you're taking care of people. But there's pretty much the V haircut is a simple haircut to do. You can see it, you can see the line. She's kind of got frayed ends, but once I blow dry this, you'll be able to see that pretty clear. So I'll have it blow dried for the next haircut. I've given you some information on the zero elevation, and you're going to begin to see why we teach you about the internal part of the head form before we start working on the hair that's on the outside. After a while, you're going to know where you're at, and then you're going to know where you're going. All right, thank you so much. Have an absolutely great day. Be safe, be positive.